Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. If you are old, how you doing? If you are new, what's up? Welcome. Welcome. I have missed you all. Today, I am showing you all how to make this sexy, seductive, spicy Cajun gumbo. All right, let me chill out. But no, I'm here to show you all how I made this seafood style gumbo. I'm doing things my way, some ways you might never seen before. So if you're interested, stay tuned and let's get this recipe going. I'm starting off with cooking my smoked turkey sausage. Now, I'd never seen no turkey sausage look that good before, so I wanted to just show you that before I chopped it up. Maybe I'm old to it, but that was my first time seeing it, so I got excited. Next, hot pan, hot oil, of course. I want to brown these to the gods, okay? Like, I want them close to burnt, but that's just how I'm cooking it. So I'm letting it sit. I'm not going to move it around constantly. Let it sit for a while and then move it. Now, I don't introduce this dish as a spicy dish, but I'm going to leave in the description box items that you can leave out so you can make it mild, because I know everyone doesn't like spicy. Now, I added my hot slap your mama seasonings and some garlic in here and some Worcestershire sauce. I'm going to give it a quick stir and call it a day and put it to the side. Now let's give our pot a quick wipe and keep things pushing to the next step. Before we start our roux, I want you to already have your vegetables chopped and ready to go. Everything will be in the description box of what I used, but as you can see, I got me some fresh tomatoes, green peppers, red peppers, onions, garlic, celery, things of that nature. Okay, so for my roux, I'm using a combination of butter and oil. You can use any oil that you want as long as it's like thin. You know, so like grapeseed oil or olive oil will be too thick for this occasion. During this process of making the roux, I'm going to show you two mistakes that I made just so you all can know. And because I was going to just edit it out, but I want to take you through the full process without hopefully taking too long with the editing. So I added my butter and my oil in the pot, and you want it to melt down. Now, the first mistake that you see is that it's boiling, like it's piping hot. You don't want this to be an aggressive process. That's the perfect word I'm used. You don't want this to be an aggressive process. For me, this is the most important step. So I understand there are a lot of videos that says, hey, we're going to make this roux in 10 minutes. Hey, I'm going to show you a 5-minute roux. No, this process is so important. So I'm going to take my sweet baby time with it, okay? And I hope that you do the same. So next, adding the flour. I added all my flour in at once because if you whisk it long enough and good enough like that, you will see a nice texture. You want it to be nice and velvety. Velvety is the key word in this process. Okay, so I added my second part of flour, and I actually added some crawfish and shrimp seasoning. I'm sure you all know which one I'm talking about. It comes in a yellow pack, so I decided to add that to my roux. Now, this goes into my second mistake, y'all. For a roux, you want equal parts flour and oil, or flour and butter, right? So the first batch was 3/4 cup, right? So I kept 1/4. And since I was adding the seasoning, I thought that I had to, lessen the flour amount because the amount of seasoning was going to compensate for it. No. So even if you're going to try this trick, still use a full 1/4 cup of flour, and you can still add however much seasoning you want. Like I used half of a fourth. I hope I'm not getting too confusing. So as you see, I'm noticing the texture is off. It's looking like kind of gritty in a way. So now I'm like, all right, this is not going to cut it. So I have to keep adding flour. And later on, you'll see I added a teensy bit more oil to get this perfect texture. Like once you know what it's supposed to look like. So My biggest suggestion would be to just walk into this process with full-blown confidence. Say, hey, even if it's your first time, this is how I did my roux the first time. Like, I know people keep saying it's so important, it's kind of scary, but just trust yourself, and I'm going to show you the exact texture that you're looking for, kind of what it was in that slow-mo video, but just more quantity for me. I made a double batch here. So if you have to add in more flour, a little by little, if you have to add in more oil, do not be scared to do so. Please. Like, you didn't ruin it. Unless it's looking really messed up and you keep adding, then you might need to start on over. But don't give up on yourself, and just know exactly what it should look like, what it should smell like. It shouldn't smell burnt. It shouldn't smell that tasty either, because it is just flour and oil. But adding the seasoning in here makes it smell a lot better as well. Now, as you can see, it's starting to come together. The texture is starting to get there. Next pointer. Do not step away from this roux. Just do not. This is not something that you go change the TV channel. This is something that you have the babysitter for the kids for, okay? Or you have the kids right there in eyesight. So you're like, don't move nowhere until this roux is done, babe. Don't go anywhere. This is a serious process. So as you see, I'm still modifying my roux, and that is okay. It's starting to come together. But like I said, it was kind of airy and like gritty and bubbles about to form, so it was a no for me. And I am doing this on low heat, y'all. Very low heat. Like I said, I'm taking my time with this. I rarely even make gumbo, so when I do make it, I'm not going to rush this process. I don't think the originators would have rushed this process as well. So let's put some respect on their name when it comes to making this amazing dish. Okay, so hopefully you can tell the difference between that last clip versus this one. This one is definitely way more smooth. I personally would have liked it to be a little bit thicker, but guess what? It turns out fine in the end. But a little trick that I learned, if you let it sit for a little bit, and I mean like maybe 4 seconds, and then stir it, it kind of gets thick on its own. Now, here I am working hard. Like I said, don't move away from this roux. You can drink a glass of wine while you stir this roux. You can read a book while you stir this roux. You can get on the phone while you stir this roux. It's up to you. Just don't abandon it. Now I put my wine glass down, and I have my Tony's seasoning waiting ever so patiently to incorporate. I'm waiting towards the end because if I put it in too soon, I might have risked ruining everything by burning the seasoning. And I did not work this hard and get to this point to ruin it. So I'm adding 2 tablespoons of Tony's, and then I'm even going to add in a little bit more of that crawfish seasoning. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about, but I'm inserting a clip just in case you don't. Now, you probably never seen this happen before, but once you start cooking for a while, you kind of just start making up your own rules and your own opinions. So since I know that the roux is basically the base of the recipe, why wouldn't it make sense to concentrate this flavor in the very beginning? I mean, we're mixing up our vegetables in here. We're going to add broth to it, liquid, all of that good stuff. So for me, it just made sense to make the roux extremely flavorful. And I noticed with doing it this way, you don't have to use as much seasoning as you would trying to flavor the broth, because most people add it in after all of the liquid, right? And I usually have to add tons of seasoning. So for me, I'm going to flavor the foundation of the dish and then add on to it later. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments if you're going to try this method out. Let me know if you find it interesting or weird. I know it's not traditional, but hey, you guys, it's 2022. I am my own chef. just like you are your own chef. We don't have to keep doing things the same way. Alrighty, so let's move on to our next step. We done spent a lot of time on this roux, but that just goes to show how important it really is. Prior to adding my vegetables, I did let my seasonings soak and marinate into that roux for maybe like another 2 minutes while stirring, and then I incorporated everything else. So I'm letting it cook down. This also helps thicken it a bit. I'm stirring it, letting it sit around for a little bit. This probably took maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And I'm going in with some salt to help break it down. And also I'm going in with my other seasonings because, once again, this is a huge part of that foundation. So let's heavily concentrate it now so we don't have to worry about it later. Okay, time to add the broth in. As you can see, that mixture is extremely thick, so you do not want to just pour that broth in and get to stirring. You want to add in a little bit at a time to thin this out. And then once it reaches a nice consistency, you can go ahead and pour in the rest of your broth. So that looks pretty good. Now I'm going in and pouring in my hot broth, keyword hot broth. Now I actually had like this tea maker that boils the water for me. So I went ahead and used that hot boiling water, mixed it in with my chicken bouillon, and then I added it into the pot. When I tell y'all that trick worked, I'm supposed to be adding some more chicken broth in, but I had to add in some basic hot water because it's so flavorful already. I don't need any more seasonings. No more slap your mama, no more Cajun. Adding some dried herbs, but as far as anything else, we're good to go. Now, let me show you all what I'm working with protein-wise. I have some raw shrimp. Of course, my smoked turkey sausage that I used earlier. And it's going to get a little weird. Don't click off, but I was feeling experimental today. And I want to see how these little imitation crab legs are going to turn out when it's like soaked into the seasoning. Now, just in case it turned out nasty, I do have some real crab meat as well. So I'm going to put that in there too. This part is very optional, but I had some zucchini that I needed to use up, and I decided to incorporate it in this dish. Super delicious, y'all. Obviously, once again, not too traditional, but if you have any vegetable that you kind of need to get rid of, I would recommend, why not putting it in this gumbo? Do the little rice bowl at home. Even if you're not at a restaurant, you can still get that restaurant feel. You deserve it. You made this meal. Why not treat yourself like a queen or a king? I'm gonna add a little sliced green onion on top, and then of course, you know what's coming. That parsley, of course. And this is how I made my Cajun style gumbo, you all. I hope that you all didn't judge me too much for that little imitation crab leg. If you did, it's okay. But I'm gonna break it down and be honest with you all. It didn't turn out that well. It didn't turn out that well. So honestly, if you are used to imitation crab, you probably will like it. But if you're not, I wouldn't recommend it. But you gotta give me a little props or pat on the back for being innovative and at least trying it. Also, I wanted to say another new thing that I would add on is I would saute my shrimp versus putting it right in the pot, because once it gets to the point of being done, the gumbo is so steaming hot, it's just going to keep on cooking and cooking and cooking. And then think about when you reheat it, you're still cooking the shrimp. So I feel like you just can't find your way around having a full-blown experience of perfectly cooked shrimp. So I would suggest sauteing it and then garnishing it on top. And you can do that every single time you reheat it. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And I will see you all in my next one. Thanks for all the love. Thanks for all the support. Talk to y'all later. Bye.